I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis. I have a new RC car to show you guys here today. This car, truck, truggy, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty solid. It's really heavy. I think it's in the $300 to $400 price range. It's made by Thunder Tiger and it's called the Bushmaster. Now, some of you guys who've been in the hobby for a long time, you know about Thunder Tiger. They've made airplanes and RC hobby components, engines, and all kinds of stuff for a long time, probably over 20 years. So their attention to detail on things, all things RC, is going to be really good. Now they have a lot of upgraded stuff on here already, a lot like those DHK cars that I showed you earlier, with the exception of this one has the addition of carbon fiber struts on the very back for the suspension system. It's 2.5 millimeter carbon fiber right up back here, and I'll show you that a little closer on the bench here in a minute. But one of the cool things, it also has a 1-pin release for the front of the truck body itself. Lifts up just like that to get inside to your battery, the on-off button, and you have an onboard audio system. So this thing actually revs up and sounds like a real truck, which is really kind of neat. And it sounds, the stock one that's on here actually sounds kind of cool. It's really horsey sounding. We also have a digital metal geared servo up in the front, receiver box, waterproof receiver box, and we have a huge Thunder Tiger Ripper 2000 kV motor over here on the right hand side of the car. So pretty awesome setup. But let's take a little closer look and we'll talk about some of the specs on this car, and then we'll go outside and drive it, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started with this review on the Bushmaster. I'm going to go ahead and show you some driving footage in between some of my comments for this review of the Bushmaster. So we'll throw up some drive footage, and I'll show you some crashes and stuff as well. I'll show you some first-person view footage from the top of the truck body. Now let's talk about this in a few different stages here. First thing we're going to talk about is durability. This is one of the most the toughest, highest rated durable RC buggies that I've driven this year. Thunder Tiger really did a good job by beefing up this entire assembly right here. You have a lot of features in here that help it remain in one piece even during the most hardcore crashes. Now, one of the other reviewers out there had it on a really high jump, and he threw the batteries out of it and completely destroyed a few things up in the front, but it was one of the worst crashes I've seen with this particular model. I did some smaller jumps with it and some tumbling around. I actually did tumble a few times on the concrete, and I just got some minimal scratches in here. Now, this canopy is designed differently than some of the other canopies out there, mainly because you have reinforced roll bars up inside this truck body. So you have separate parts on the bottom and top right here, and it just adds a little more durability to the truck body in general. So that helps out a lot. You have that standard sort of spoiler back here with some anodized aluminum, kind of upgraded parts. That's also pretty cool. And you have 1-pin release, like I said before, releases the body. Now if you look underneath here, this canopy roll bar system also comes underneath here and protects the body a little more. So it's not just on top, it's actually coming out through the bottom as well, and it creates sidewalls on the bottom of the truck here. So that's also pretty nice. Now this buggy has been around for about a year's time. It's new to me and new to the GearBest website, and maybe it's been on there, but it just came back in stock. So I was lucky enough to be able to get a copy of it to review for you guys. Now I talk about the wheels a lot on these reviews, and obviously I should, but these are pretty standard 17 millimeter hex nuts on the end of these wheels, so you can change these out with any other type of 1/8 scale tires that will fit this buggy. It's on a short course tire right now that comes with it, and these tires actually did pretty well for a ready to run tire. They did just fine. I was expecting that these might get a lot of wear on them because I also did run them on the concrete. Not the place to really run this truck, but I did just to see how fast it would go on that battery setup. But speaking of battery setup, you have a 100 amp ESC inside here, and it will run 2 to 4S. You can safely run 2 to 4S on this. And that ESC is right back here on the right rear. It is also a waterproof setup and has parallel wires coming out here for you to hook up 2 batteries at once. So if you order batteries for this truck, make sure you order 2 to 4S battery will fit inside here. So you're not going to be able to run it 5 to 6S. The ESC that comes along with it, like I said, it runs 2 to 4S, but the motor itself, the motor over here is super beastie. This is a Thunder Tiger Ripper 2000 kb IBL 4020. Now, what does that mean? It means that it can run 5 to 6S. This is a super big motor for this drivetrain system. Everything held up with my battery setup. I imagine if you ran it 6S on here, you'd compromise that ESC. So you might burn up that ESC. You want a 150 amp ESC in here if you're going to try to run it 5 to 6S. But I'm sure these tires would just completely balloon out and be pretty compromised as well on 6. But you could try it if you wanted to upgrade this system. Now, the next stage of my review, we can talk about the steering and handling. The steering on this particular buggy actually is really, really good. It's all really precise, and mainly because of this digital servo right here. This is a DS1510 by Ace RC, and it's also metal geared. So that's great for a drive servo because plastic gears just don't work in cars this scale. So you're going to strip the gears out and stuff. If you're new to RC cars, you definitely want to have a digital metal servo, and digital gives you a more precise servo than something like an old school analog servo. Analog servos are great for airplane wings and things like that, but if you have any bigger surfaces like RC trucks and cars, you need something digital metal. It just makes a much better experience and handles a lot better for racing, because you need that quick response and really smooth action on the front steering here. Now, aside from how well it drives and how durable it is, those are both like thumbs up from me. Parts availability, one of the guys' biggest questions about some of these RC cars that aren't available in the hobby shops is like, can I get some of the parts at my local hobby shop? Now, Thunder Tiger is in a lot of different local hobby shops, but again, I haven't seen these parts in any of our local hobby shops here in our area, and I've been in every single one of them. So this is purely an online retail RC buggy. So you're going to have to Google and look for the parts. Now, I did some Googling for you guys, so I found parts on vortexhobbies.com. If you check them out, they do have some Bushmaster parts, and the manufacturer actually has some of these parts on their site as well for thundertiger.com. And I believe there's also another site out there that offers parts bundles, so you can buy large quantity parts bundles for the Bushmaster as well. So there are parts out there. It's not going to be a car that you can't find parts for, so that's going to be a good thing about this one. Now, I had a good time working with this particular transmitter. I did have some range issues because I did, like another reviewer, have to go in and sort of uncoil that receiver antenna in there to make it just a little bit longer. Now, this is going to be a pretty standard transmitter. It's not going to be like super nice, something like a Spectrum DSMX transmitter or anything like that. It does have a little bit of spongy foam around the drive wheel right here, and it's fairly comfortable. But the greatest thing about it is that it responds really well with that digital servo inside there. So you got all the standard knobs here for your throttle trim and your steering trim here, on off button, and it will tell you that it's bound up. Now, on the very bottom, just pop that, and there's 6 AA batteries inside here. I would like to see that it had some sort of nickel metal battery in here for recharging this truck. Something of this caliber and price, we should definitely get some kind of larger rechargeable battery in the bottom of this. But I have my rechargeable AA's in here, and those will work just fine for me. But I would probably recommend the same for you if you're deciding to buy this truck. Now, as far as parts, you're probably not likely going to order a lot of parts because the durability factor is so high on this buggy. Unless you're jumping at 10 feet or more in the air, you're likely not to break anything on here if you're just kind of running this on the short course. Now, also inside the box, they do give you quite a bit of extra parts in this box. So this is a really good value for the price of this buggy. They also give you some extra parts here for spacers for your shocks, and they have various different sizes in there. So if you wanted to increase or decrease the amount of tensions in your shocks, you can take those off. Also, if you lose one, if one snaps off during a wreck, you can replace that. You also get some parts for the front and rear suspension, an extra kit right there. And they give you a pack of different tools and wrenches and Allen keys in here. This is also kind of cool. And they give you my favorite part, the full-size metal wrench for the 17mm wheel nuts. That's really cool. And you also have a few different sizes around the edge there for working on this. Now, as far as working on this one, also it's going to be pretty easy to work on this. Just 2 screws in the back, like I said, release this entire truck body. Now you also get, inside this box, you get a manual for the ESC. That's super cool, so you can really understand and know how to program this ESC if you need to. And you get a manual about the Ripper, this brushless motor that includes for that 1/8 scale buggy. You also get the Ace RC Cougar 2.4 digital radio system manual in here. That's also going to be needed at some point. And you get sort of some kind of Chinese stamp of approval that everything checked out in the factory, and you get a pretty substantial manual with this particular buggy. Okay, so let's go ahead and sum up the Thunder Tiger Bushmaster, and let's go ahead and give it a final score. My final score for this is going to be 4.5, and I'm going to shave off a half a point there because of a few particulars that I kind of found were needed for upgrades for this particular Bushmaster, and maybe something to take off of it. And half a point there for the speaker system. It's a little bit heavy, so I think that's not really necessary. It's kind of a cool thing. It's kind of gimmicky, but after your first 2 or 3 batteries, guys, you're probably going to remove that. It's kind of fun, but it's not super necessary, especially if you're going to be racing this on short course. You're going to be competing against other drivers. You're definitely going to want to lighten up the entire load on this power system to be able to get it to go as fast as possible and to take the jumps and be balanced. You don't want your center of gravity too high on this. You want it kind of mid-body so that it doesn't throw you forward. If you have too much of a top-heavy vehicle, it's going to kind of pitch you forward and flip you over on top of the buggy body, so you don't want that. Now, the other thing that I could probably see could be a little better in this package is the transmitter, and a lot of these transmitters aren't like the best transmitters in the world, but it is a ready-to-run package, so I'm not going to be too hard there on the transmitter itself. But parts availability, you can find some parts out there on the internet. But for overall experience, I've got to say my overall experience is definitely 4.0 out of 5. It definitely pleased me, and I saw the other reviews that were coming out, and I just thought that I would have a good time with it too. And indeed, I did. I had a great time with it, and I came home with it in one piece. That's the biggest thing about this review. If you've seen some of my other RC car and truck reviews, I'm pretty hard on stuff, and I bash stuff. I've jumped stuff off houses for you guys just to see if they would remain in one piece. And I didn't do any super high jumps with this one, but it had some pretty hard tumbles where I thought I broke stuff. And I also ran these tires on the road just to see how well they hold up. And nothing broke on here. It all came home in one piece, ready for my batteries to recharge again over there on the battery station and go out for another drive. So I would definitely recommend it. 4.5 out of 5, guys. It is a really nice package, and if you do spend the money on this, email me and let me know what you think about it, because I think that you're going to like it a lot. So I really enjoyed running the Bushmaster. I think it just looks super cool. So thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. Hopefully you're having an awesome summer and a good time, and you're not burning up from the heat out there. I'm Justin Davis from Drone Camps. I'll see you guys on the next one.